Hi, welcome to CBTV. We are here today to talk a little bit about one of our favorite subjects, CBU, which is also Children's Bureau University. Children's Bureau University was born out of an idea 3 years ago about the fact that we needed to place more learning into everyone's hands in real time. The thing that we love the most about CBU is really being able to connect with our staff and our people leaders in real ways to be able to make sure that everyone has the tools that they need to be as successful as they can. Rarely do you find an organization like Children's Bureau that has such a strong commitment to learning and development. In fact, we have a 40-hour minimum per employee per fiscal year of learning. To be able to make that kind of investment really tells you that we really have built a true culture of learning. I have here with us today Ani Melkumian, Associate Director of Employee Experience. I have Melvin Valentine, who you probably recognize as being the face of CBU and is our manager of the learner experience. And then Drejeen Bay, a new face. Drejeen is our CBU administrator, and you'll see many things from Drejeen with regards to how to get yourself set up for classes, and then certainly making sure that you have all the pre-work and post-work that's needed. Melvin, as we think about CBU, one of the big highlights that we had this year was that we were nominated and then voted in as being one of the top internal universities in the world, not just in LA, not just LA County, not just the state, and not even just the United States, the world. How exciting was that, Melvin, to be able to be included in such a great group? We were only one of 66 and the only nonprofit. Melvin, how did you feel as we went through the preparation period of leading up to submitting and then being nominated and then winning one of the slots for the best award by American Training and Development?
I have to tell you, Kimberly, it was a great honor, just simply to be assessed. We just took it as an opportunity that this will allow us to kind of look at our learning programs and see how effective we are when it comes to our employees. So I was just honored just at the thought of being able to apply it and being looked at amongst some of these former winners. So I never thought that we would win, but it's just an acknowledgement to our commitment to develop our people and just ensure they're successful here at Children's Bureau.
I love that, Melvin. Thank you. And what about for Ani? I'm going to ask you this question because you are not only responsible for quite a bit of training yourself, but then also for the overall experience for employees and our people leaders. You also are responsible for leading the charge in bringing in new people. Can you talk a little bit about how the BEST Award has been something that you've been able to incorporate into your recruitment process?
Absolutely. I think that having this sort of validation and this stamp of like we are the best really set us apart from other organizations. When I talked to candidates, it was something really unique and special that we could offer them that they weren't having that opportunity anywhere else. So it made sourcing the right candidates easier, and it made us more of an attractive place to work. And it's just been such a pleasure to be part of such a winning team, of course. So it's been really great. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know when I do the new hire orientations and we speak about the fact that we have this wonderful internal university, you can almost see the light come into our new people's faces. They're like, wow. In fact, we even had a couple of people who've asked, does it cost money? We are happily to say, no, it is all part of you being an employee. It is an employee benefit. And we ask that everyone take advantage of that. Speaking of that, Melvin, when we think about the different ways in which we learn at Children's Bureau, can you talk a little bit about CBU and the various ways that a person can actually have classes?
Absolutely. So one thing that we want to acknowledge is that people learn in their own different style and in their own different time. And especially during now, as we're working from home and remotely and having different hybrid positions, it's important that we touch in on different learning styles. So an employee of Children's Bureau, they can access on-demand training. We have self-paced training. We also have virtual instructor-led training. So there's several different ways that they can take care of all their learning needs depending on their time, their learning style, and then also the time they have available.
Thank you, Melvin. I really appreciate that. Probably more than anything is that there is something in there for everyone. And we really encourage people to get in there, especially for self-paced learning.
Yes,
That's an opportunity for you to grab and acquire new skills and attributes in ways that that can not only help you now, but help you in the future for your career. So thank you.
absolutely.
So as we think about the future, Ani, what do you see as the big opportunities for us in 2022 and 2023?
I am excited to see attendance increase more and more. So I think in 2021 we saw that, like especially in the engagement events, I think we've had over 100% increase in attendance. So like double what we were seeing the numbers of people attending. So that only bodes well for next year, right? And the word's getting out and people understand that they have all these opportunities at Children's Bureau available to them to learn, to connect, to grow, to learn from each other also. So I'm excited to see people utilize the opportunities more and more.
Let's bring up some great points around engagement because it is not just classroom, skills learning, but it's also social learning. Melvin, I know you're passionate around social learning. Can you talk a little bit about why that's going to be important in 21, 22, 22, 23?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there's an important component when it comes to learning from your peer. We tend to learn from our peers a little bit quicker. It's more like side-by-side learning. So what social learning allows our users to do is to pretty much share their knowledge. So if they're in a meeting or if they go to any type of training with CBU or any outside training, they can share that information and be able to keep or create discussion and conversation around it. If that becomes popular, where we notice that, hey, users are really touching in on this topic, we can then take that and curate it into an official training. So that's the importance of social learning.
Love that. Thank you again. One of the things that I love about CBU is how nimble it is. It is, we can be in meetings and we'll hear a need. And before you know it, we go into our little lab and within sometimes even just days, that training has been built and already delivered. So I think that that's really a big component of one of the reasons why we won for the best award is that we were able to be so agile and nimble with our learning programs. As we think back, and Ani alluded to it a moment ago, she kind of hit it, but as we think back, we have had our wonderful perspectives and perceptions training, as well as inclusive leader from within this year. We launched that in April. It's a mandatory look into awareness and how we build our quotient for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Melvin, can you talk a little bit about why this is so critical and how those classes are going?
Diversity, equity, inclusion is something that's primary when it comes here at Children's Bureau, and it's a very important for us because it helps shapes the culture that we have here. One thing that's extremely important is that we create a sense of belonging for every employee and just make sure that everything that we do aligns with our mission and our vision. That's the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion here.
Yeah, thank you very much for highlighting that. So as we begin to close up, I want to get into a little bit more around the specifics of what each one of us and our responsibilities are to CBU so that everyone knows who to access and for what. So Melvin, let's start with you. Can you kind of give an overview as to how we access information, how do we register for classes, and how do we even know what's in the catalog?
Absolutely. So there's a way that you'll be able to access this. Every learner will have a learner page, and we'll talk about the learning management system very shortly. But it'll be a way that you can access your on-demand, self-paced, and even take a look at calendars of up-and-coming learning and training events. So that's one way that you'll be able to access this here at CBU.
That's great. And then Ani, you have something pretty exciting that you're working on too, around even further engagement. What we have learned through the pandemic is that we have a need to be around each other. And so we have done a lot of things so that we can mimic that behavior that we had inside. In fact, I would measure to bet is that we actually have done even more than we did when we were in person by way of being able to connect with each other. And so whether it's some of the events that Ani mentioned a moment ago, like bingo, dance parties, and all of the different little pieces, the stretch and meditation that Ani does is so great. But you've got some real special things coming up next year, Ani. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I think the way you can access, like staff can access more about what we talk about here, can also be in SharePoint. So stay tuned. We'll have a link in the newsletter for you to access more information about this. But next year, we're going to have bi-weekly lunch and learns for all staff where you can come and learn on a topic that's relevant, like how do you find meaning in the work that you're doing? How do you find more connection in the work that you're, or with the peers that you're working with? How do you deal with conflict resolution? How do you learn to love criticism? Things that we all as professionals are hungry for, but then also just spend time with your peers. You know, like we don't all get to walk into a conference room and say, hi, how are you? So now you get to walk into a digital conference room and say, hi, how are you? And learn from each other. So we'll make sure that you have those opportunities next year, along with the continued experiences you're already loving, like what Kimberly just mentioned with the bingo games, and the Jeopardy is now included, and dance parties and meditation and stretch. So there's going to be a large focus on connection and engagement for staff.
That's great. And then we have Drejine here, and Drejine unfortunately has lost her voice from some weekend fun. And so here's what we can expect out of Drejine. She just joined us a couple of weeks ago officially, but you've seen and heard from her over the summer as a great partner to Melvin. And so, you know, what you can appreciate about Drejine is that she is the biggest champion CBU is ever going to have. She is cheerleading you. She is wanting you to take part into the information. So make sure that if you see notes from Drejine, it's going to be a good note. So always pay attention to any information that you're getting from her, because she's going to steer you right into that virtual classroom that Ani mentioned a moment ago. Melvin, can you talk a little bit more about Drejine and what the value of the CBU administrator role is?
Absolutely. So Dre Jean, she is the gatekeeper. All right. So as the gatekeeper, she'll manage our learning management system, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But she'll make sure that users will have access to all the trainings that we have available. She also manages our calendar. So anytime that you need to get scheduled for any type of training, you will want to reach out to Dre Jean. Troubleshooting, she's just a good source at CBU to make sure that if you need to contact us in any way, or you need any type of resources, she'll be the first point of contact.
Great. Thank you, Melvin. And what we would ask for each one of you as you consider CBU as your spot for learning and development next year is to really take into the opportunities, as Ani said, increase your participation. That is really how you will get value add. This is the opportunity for you to be considered for promotions, for further opportunities in the organization, committees, think tanks, project groups. All of those things come from skills, what we are now calling upskilling. And so it's really important that you continue to acquire new skills so that you can be your best self at CBU as well as Children's Bureau as a whole. So what we would ask is that you continue to check back in on our SharePoint page and see what's going on. Be a participant. If there are courses that you would love to be able to see, contact Melvin, let him know. Melvin also hosts coaching hours every week. And so if you need some extra help, or you just kind of don't understand what's next for you, that's an opportunity for you to have. You're not going to find this kind of work in many organizations. We hear that very much, don't we, Ani? So take advantage of this because this is a rare gift, but it is our commitment, our ongoing commitment to building a culture of learning. Thank you for joining us.